Dear students, welcome back to the online sessions on embedded systems. So we were discussing about sensors, and in the previous session we covered the basic fundamentals of what a sensor is in general, right? And today's session will try to just quickly go with the various sensor basic block diagrams, okay, its architecture, advantages and disadvantages. If time permits, we'll try to go with the applications of sensors. So sensors is going to be the easiest chapter that we have in the syllabus. The reason being is that in today's world, we are all surrounded by different types of sensors. Okay, that means your cell phone itself is nothing but basically the sensor, because it is sensing the electromagnetic signal, and that is that such electromagnetic signal is simply converted into electrical signal, and it is processed by the mobile phone, and then that is once again reconverted into the voice signals and then acoustic signals by the speaker, and reverse is also it is doing. That means it gets the information from the speaker, which is nothing but the voice signal, acoustic in nature, that is reconverted into the digital signal, and that is going to get processed, and then it will be transmitted into the atmosphere by using an antenna. So this is what basically a sensor, our basic mobile phone itself is normally going to containing a sensor in terms of an antenna. So antenna is used as a sensor in the case of the mobile phone, right? So similarly, we are accustomed to use the remote controllers. That is also a sensor. It normally going to have the RFID sensors, and our ATM cards is also going to have sensors. Okay, so all these we are simply equipped with sensors. That means video surveillance is also going to be a sensor. So we are totally nowadays are living with so many types of sensors. Now we don't have all that depth in syllabus. We have the general block diagram of sensor, and we have architecture of a sensor, advantages, disadvantages, and later on after that we have applications of the sensors. That's it we have in the syllabus. Okay, it's very easy chapter for us to understand. Okay, let us try to look into the sensors as per the syllabus now. So in the syllabus, it is mentioned like as a smart sensor and its applications. So we need to discuss about smart sensors. It is like a smartphones than the ordinary phones. 20 years back, that is in 2001 or something like that, and before, in fact, in 90s, we used to have a mobile phone only for voice communication. We could not even send a message signal using a mobile phone. That means that phone is actually known as a actual phone. But nowadays, the phone we are having is called as a smartphone. So why the name we have added here, smartness? Because apart from the basic task that it has to perform, the cell phone is performing many other tasks. That means that is the reason why it is simply called as a smart sensor, smart mobile phone, or smart cell phones, or a smartphone. Similarly, we have a smart sensors. So what is the job of a sensor? We have discussed in the previous session that job of a sensor is to sense the stimulus applied from the external environment, and that stimulus has to be simply transmitted to its following circuit. Is basically the job of a sensor. External stimulus is normally going to be in the form of a physical nature. That is, it may be a displacement, it may be a pressure, it may be a temperature, so on and so forth. It may be optical light, so on and so forth. So this optical light has to be converted into electrical signal so that it can be processed by the circuits connected after the sensor. So this is what basically a sensor is nothing but we are normally going to have. A sensor is a device which is normally going to sense the stimulus applied to its input terminals, so that the signal is given to the other processing circuits. That is what the basic job of a sensor. That means sensor is usually going to transform one form of energy into another form of energy. That means there are three terms which are really, confusing, called as transducers, sensors, and actuators. Okay. So the job of transducer is simply going to convert the signal from one form into the another form. That means inside transducer, we normally going to have the sensors. The next part is going to be actuators. Actuators is related to the output connected to some moving objects, so that we have a rotational movement. We are going to have a rotational movement at the output due to the input applied at the sensor side. That is normally called as actuator. That means in actuator, you're going to have a sensor. In transducers also, you're going to have a sensor. More or less, transducer sometimes people call it as a sensor, and actuator also people sometimes call it as a sensor put together. Okay. So because we are going to get transducer as a module, actuator as a module. So in that module, the basic task of sensing is done by the sensors. But nowadays, the sensors are called as smart sensors because apart from the sensing activity, the smart sensors are doing many other operations. That is why it is called as a smart sensor. So always the mobile phone is going to stand as a best example whenever we speak in terms of a smart sensors. Okay, it is not just a sensor, it's going to be a smart sensor. That means we are adding a term called smartness. So when you add a term called smartness, what advantages we get? The flexibility we normally going to achieve in the case of the functionalities. That means you can make the device operate independent of the human being. That is called a smartness. That means you try to make the sensors as some more intelligible. By doing so, we simply call it as a smart sensor. That means if you bring some intelligence to the sensors, it is called as a smart sensor for us. Okay. Right. So let us look into the syllabus aspects. It's going to be very, very easy part for us because this is the syllabus contents we have. And at the last, we're going to have the applications. So first part we have is introduction to the smart sensors and smart sensors. We had already properties and block diagram of smart sensors. What are the various properties of sensors? That means properties means what? After you perform experiment using sensors, it is going to exhibit some properties. That means based on the properties, we normally going to understand where we can use them. Right. That means under certain boundary conditions, it is going to provide us certain outputs. So that means if you say that some outputs, some kind of behavior it is going to exhibit based on the input conditions, we simply put those behavioral points as properties. So we came to know about properties after generally performing the experiment. Okay. So anyway, this is what the syllabus we have: properties, block diagram of a smart sensor. The next is, what do you mean by a primary sensor? Primary sensor is what the basic sensor which we'll be using in the smart sensor. That means if you remove smartness, it becomes like a primary sensor for us. Then excitation. That means excitation means what? Giving a power supply from the external world is known as excitation. Then amplification, the signals generated by the primary sensor is going to be very, very weak. These signals cannot drive the electronic circuits which will be connecting after the primary sensors. Therefore, you have to amplify the signal before you give it to the circuits which we connect following to the sensors. Usually smart sensors we call it as. And next, the signal which we are going to get is not going to be a perfect signal. Therefore, we need to use some filters. That means to smoothen the signal, we are going to use the filters, obviously. So we'll be using the low pass filters, high pass filters, band pass filters, band reject filters. So different types of filters are there. Now, based on the applications, we can normally use different kinds of filters. It doesn't matter which filters we normally going to use. We may use Chebyshev's filter, we may use Butterworth filter. So so on and so forth. We can use many types of filters based on the applications. That means converters. Now we need to convert the signals from one form to the another form. Okay. Because sensors are the devices which will be used in a multi-domain environments. Multi-domain means what? You may have processing of a system involved with multiple domains, say such as chemical industry. That means we may mix up the chemical industry with computer science, with electronics and mechanical engineering part, mechanical devices, inventory system, all of them has to go hand in hand. So in that case, what happens, the sensors will be used in a multi-disciplinary environments. So in that cases, what is important is conversion really going to be a matter for us. So the simple example of conversion is going to be analog to digital and digital to analog conversions. So imagine if a system has to process the human voice. So human voice is normally being sensed by the data acquisition system. So it's going to sense, that means your microphone is going to sense, that means microphone is also called as a sensor, which is normally going to sense, and it is going to give electrical signal. That electrical signal is purely analog in nature. If at all you wanted to process that signal more effectively, you have to use a digital system. So therefore the analog signal has to be converted into digital signal. So after it converts into digital signal or a discrete signal, we give that discrete signal to the computer to process. Computer means any digital circuit arranged in a such a way to process the input discrete signal is known as a digital signal for us. It may be a microcontroller, it may be a microprocessor, it may be a digital system as such. So for that, we need a conversion from analog to digital. The next one is compensation. So obviously compensation is an issue here. Always in electronic circuits, you have to design electronic circuit to compensate for the changes in temperature, for the changes in beta value of the transistor used, for changes in the circuit components. So circuit component values are going to change due to the aging. Beta value of transistor is normally going to change due to aging problem. Okay, so that means temperature, as the temperature changes, what happens is that once again the output parameters are also going to change. So irrespective of these changes, the output has to be desired output. To get that, we have to go with a compensation compulsorily. Therefore, compensation is also going to be an important aspect in the digital systems or electronic systems in general. The next one is information coding processing. If at all we wanted to transmit this information via internet or some other means, then information coding has to be done. That means you normally going to convert your data into ASCII code, ADB code, okay, and barcodes like that. So many codes are there. So depending on the application, we convert the given data into the appropriate code, and we simply transmit these codes as the symbols in the transmission line. Exactly reverse is going to happen at the receiver side. Decoding will be done. Then after that, further processing will be done. After decoding, we convert digital to analog. Then analog is normally given it to the speaker so that a human being can able to listen the voice or voice processed voice signal and all. So after all these things, this is what all the criterias, design criterias or components which we use in the sensor systems. Then finally, you have to fix up certain standards so that we can give those standards to the manufacturers of the sensors, and thereby the manufacturer sensors is normally going to produce such sensors which satisfies those standards. So therefore, some standards has to be compulsorily shortlisted. So that means standards for smart sensor interfaces has to be formed after we normally going to understand about the complete sensor. So after it is done, then finally next step is going to be what now? Designing of the sensor. After designing, we plan for manufacturing the sensor, and after that testing the sensor. Then finally we simply go it for the packaging section. Then after that, after testing, we manufacture so many sensors and then simply distribution to the customers. So this is what the process for the standards, right? Now, as I was talking to you, smart sensor, what is the meaning of smartness? Intelligency. We are adding artificial intelligence to the basic sensor. If we add some intelligence to the sensor, it is called as a smart sensor. That means intelligence we can perform by using some interfacing hardwares, because intelligence can be provided by using the digital hardware circuits. Therefore, sensors plus interfacing hardware is simply called as a smart sensors. That means the smart sensor itself is going to be viewed as a digital system for us. It is also a digital system nowadays. Now, why we use intelligent sensors? So that the interfacing circuits can perform so many types of operations, such as ranging. So in case of the radar systems, we're going to use this application called ranging. Then calibration, if at all you wanted to use your sensors in the testing purpose, then we use this calibration. So calibration is an important part in the case of testing the equipments. Then when it is involved in making decisions for processing and for communication, we have to make the decisions. So decision making is normally done in the sensor itself for communication and processing of the data. That means for communication means what type of communication is involved? There are so many types of technologies involved in communication. If you go with wireless communication, if you go with wired communication, so many types of technologies are involved, like digital techniques, digital analog techniques, digital modulation techniques, analog modulation techniques, line coding, channel coding. So all these are the various different types of channel codings are available, different types of line coding techniques are available in the case of communication. So based on that, decision has to be taken on how it has to really handle with this kind of a data. Then obviously processing of the data has to be done by the smart sensors. So these are all the basic necessities why to address these issues we go with the smart sensors. So how can we define intelligent sensor or smart sensor? A smart sensor is nothing but a sensor which produces an electrical output when it is combined with the interfacing electronic circuits or interface electronic circuits. As I was talking to you, you have to add some extra interfacing hardware circuit to the primary sensor to produce some electrical output. So that is what basically called as a smart sensor. So it means smart sensor is going to come up like a circuit, come up like a system in general. Okay, that is called a smart sensor. So smart sensors can be called as intelligent sensors, which are known as sensors with integrated electronics that can perform one or more following functions. That means smart sensor, obviously, apart from sensing, it is going to perform some other specialized functionalities, just like our mobile phone. What is the basic job of mobile phone? Communicating the analog voice signal is the basic job of the mobile phone. Now, apart from that basic job of mobile phone, it is doing many other functions. Therefore, we simply call it as a smartphone. Similarly here, apart from sensing, it is performing so many operations such as what? The operations need not be only these many. It is normally going to be multifold based on the applications. That is an important point. So the functions could be like data conversions, analog to digital, digital to analog is a basic conversions, we normally prefer use bidirectional communications. That means it is going to be a full duplex communication. In case of full duplex communication, it has to do some processing for such bidirectional communication. Taking decisions, it has to take decisions on how the data has to be really processed. Based on the decisions, that means it has to execute the programming part, like if else logic, if else if logic, all these things will be there. Loops, that means for loops it has to execute, while loops it has to execute. It is something like, you know, a digital computer system. So what are all the digital computer systems tasks which are going to be there? Same task obviously will be listed in the smart sensors, of course, because smart sensors are normally designed by using the digital circuits. What is a digital circuit? It is a computer based circuit. So perform logical operations, perform the arithmetic operations, perform you whatever, based on the application. You can just simply figure out the basic necessities and requirements. You can just simply put up the functionalities of such sensor, in fact smart sensor. Okay, now what is the basic block diagram of a smart sensor? See, the sensing unit is only one. This is nothing but a primary sensor. It simply senses the stimulus from the external world and it simply converts this signal into electrical signal. That's it. Primary sensor job is over. Now then the job of smart sensor comes into picture. Smartness comes into picture. What this smart sensor has to do, it is going to support many other sub blocks, such as it is going to support memory units, it is going to support conversion units, it is going to support interfacing units, it is going to perform or process some programs which are already stored inside the embedded system. That means the sensor itself can be called as a embedded system because it is performing a specific task. When I say a specific task may be a congregation of many other intended predefined specific tasks. Then communication units, memory units, conversions, and signal conditioning units. Put together, we normally going to call it as a smart sensor, basic block diagram. See, this is exactly looking like a DSP system. What is the DSP system? The instrumentation system. So it is perfectly called as an instrumentation system. Instrumentation system, what is the first unit? You're going to have sensing element, signal conditioning, then conversions, then application programs are normally going to interact with memory units, interfacing units, and communication units. By just interacting with all these things, it is normally going to do some operations. So that means it is something like, you know, an instrumentation system block diagram is nothing but a smart sensor block diagram. That means smart sensor more or less can be called as, you know, instrumentation system or embedded system. So these are the block diagrams of it. Then what are the properties of a smart sensor that we can have? So a smart sensor is an intelligent field device. We already know that. Right, so it has to sense on the signals on the field. Okay, we are going to have a POS machines. Using POS machines, the shopkeeper, what he is doing now, he is simply going to scratch our cards, are going to put our cards on a sensor, and sensor is going to, without touching, sensor is going to sense the barcode ID in that particular chip which is resided inside the card, credit card or a bank card, whatever it is. Then it is normally going to process that. That means it is an intelligent device on field, is known as a smart sensor. So what are its properties? It is going to exhibit automatic ranging and calibration. See, whenever we want to bring intelligence, means what? If you bring intelligence, it becomes automatic processing system. So therefore, automatic ranging and calibration. Now, all these you can write it in general. See, you don't while studying about the embedded systems topic, embedded system is normally going to be a very vast, like a needs of a human being. As the needs of the human being is going to increase, the number of sensors are also going to increase in the life. That means you should think the sensors with the perspective of an engineer rather than with the perspective of a history student or a biology student, where you have to mug up the diagram, where you have to mug up the tissues, where you have to mug up the years, including the months, days, everything. Okay, systematically. You need not remember anything here. Only thing is you have to apply your mind based on the basic necessities. Now, in the sensor, what is the basic necessity of a sensor? It has to sense the signal and it has to process the signal so that it can reduce the load on the computer-based systems. By doing so, we are bringing some intelligence in the sensor itself. That is what an extra thing we are doing in the smart sensors. Okay. So in that process, we are making the general sensor or a primary sensor as more complex sensor, just to make the life of the end user easy. We are making our lives complex, obviously. So here, rather than saying complexity, I will say that you should think with the perspective of an engineer. That means the perspective of an engineer, you have to think in terms of applications. So sensor is one of the application. So therefore, you should think it in terms of application, and you have to simply enhance your thinking while you normally read also. Write down the bullet points, and these bullet points you have to simply elaborate in the end examinations, right? So this is how we normally deal with any theory subject in the engineering area. So whatever may be theory subject, you may be having so many theory subjects in the computer science as well, whatever it is. So theory, if it is there, means you should try to apply this theory in a practical scenarios, and you should be in a position to write an answer to that question with that perspective of practical thinking. Then only you can able to do something with this kind of subjects. Otherwise, what happens? You have to read. For writing in the exam, you have to compulsorily read each and everything, mug up everything, and that means overnights you have to simply read without sleeping, means you never do good in this particular subject. Okay, so therefore, please try to enhance your thinking and try to use some common sense, and you think with common sense and then apply it for the sensor basic necessity, and then keep some points with you and try to elaborate points. So whatever good things that comes to your mind as per the sensor is concerned, just simply put all those things in the exam paper with respect to the time available to you. So that is how we normally going to manage with the things. Okay. So that is why think it in a more general sense, and apply it to the practical world, and then try to learn from that particular analogies, so that you can just simply remember the concepts of the sensors. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult for you and for me, anybody in the fact, to remember these many things in the mind. So therefore, some of the points I have gathered, sensor itself is going to be an ocean. If I take up simply a sensor, there are so many applications of sensors we normally going to deal just after this session, maybe tomorrow or today. So in sensors, it is normally meant for various types of applications. So that means if at all I have to speak in depth in the sensor, every sensor in the practical world is normally going to be taken as a subject. It is that depth. So therefore, the depth is always going to increase also in engineering field. Why? Because it all depends on the requirement of the user or the client or the customer. So therefore, requirements will never stop. They will be increasing every day. So the depth of the subject is also going to increase every day. So that is why you should think with the perspective of with the perspective of an engineer rather than as a scientist. Okay, so engineer means what? Yeah, it has to work in the practical world. Whatever that is going to do using engineering principles, using scientific principles, it has to work in the practical world. Right. So it may not meet 100% of scientific results, but it should meet the requirements of the end user. Like that, practically we have to think. and accordingly you have to figure out the points. That is how the theoretical subjects are normally need to be handled in the engineering field, whatever may be the branch it is, doesn't matter, engineering branch. The discipline, your engineering discipline may be computer science, maybe EEE, maybe mechanical, maybe ECE, whatsoever it is. But the central idea is only going to be this. So you have to keep this central idea in the mind towards reading the theoretical subjects. Then the subject becomes easy. Otherwise, the subject is going to become so tough. Okay, you have to read, for to write in the exam, you have to read it compulsorily. Each and every word you have to remember in the mind. That is not the prospect, that is not the agenda of going through the engineering subjects. So engineering agenda is to apply. So you apply the concepts and you should write the same thing in the examination. That is what the basic perspective of engineering. So in that perspective only, I have gathered some points. It is not like only these are the only properties which are available. There are many other properties which are infinite number are going to come. Infinite number of properties are there. You can bring up other points also if it is justifiable, right? In the practical world, then that point is going to be a valid point in the case of the properties of smart sensors. So that's how I really mean by saying this. So that means in case of the applications of radar and testing, we use automatic ranging and calibration. If at all we are dealing with the instrumentation system, we have to acquire the data using the auto acquisition system and storage of the calibration constants so that it can be calibrated. Auto reconfiguration and verification of hardware for the correct operation. What happens is dynamically nowadays, the systems are all being connected in the internet. Human intervention is going to be very, very less while the devices are operating. So sometimes what happens, the devices which are there in the network may be working, may not be working. If the device software got corrupted because of any reasons, then what I have to do now? I have to remotely reconfigure that particular device or a sensor which is there in the network. So who has to do that configuration? Who has to reset for their configuration? By itself. Without the human intervention, if it could able to repair itself, it is really fantastic. Something like if a human being gets some problem, health problem, if a human being is going to rectify his own health problem by himself, it is really fantastic. It is something like called auto configuration. He is configuring his body by himself without going to the doctor. That is always a fantastic job, fantastic thing. It is expected for the human being, but no human being is taking medicine by their own, right? We are all rushing to the doctor if at all we get some problem. So that means we are not something like auto configuration people. We need a doctor for our health problems. So auto configuration and verification of hardware for correct operations. So hardware verification also has to be performed automatically by the system itself. That means you have to make the system intelligible. That's it. So towards that intelligence, we are simply gathering all this to strengthen the concept of intelligence. We are simply bringing up all these points. The next is auto correction of offsets, offset values. That means offset means what? Something like noise transmission. When can the noise will be received by the systems? If the noise is above the threshold value, then only the noise is normally being taken into the system, right? That is what called threshold values, normally figured out by offsets. So offsets are not nothing but the something like index values. So based on the index value, the further processing is normally being done. Then time, auto time corrections, auto temperature drifts corrections has to be done. Auto linearization of the non-linear transfer characteristics. See here, the human being always wants linearization because human being is analog in nature, is not that fast as the computer. So therefore, he needs linearization. So usually we are normally going to use a non-linear devices in the digital circuits. So when you pass a signal through a non-linear devices, what happens? the output is also going to be non-linear in nature. So that has to be auto-linearized by the systems. So that has to be done because smartness is there. Self-tuning control algorithms. So here the control algorithms also has to be tuned by itself, self-tuned control systems. Based on the input conditions, the control systems has to be tuned by itself. That is called self-tuning control systems. Okay. Say for example, if you go with a simple feedback control system. So this feedback control system, if you normally go with the reconfigurable kind of a systems, then what happens is something like the system is simply going to get that means self-tuned based on the input signals. If input signal is going to be really more, output signal is normally going to get reduced. If input signal is going to be less, output signal is normally going to get enhanced for proper processing. That means here what is happening actually, self-tuning control operations is happening. This means we are controlling the task by itself. Dynamic reconfiguration should be performed. This is what I was talking to you. Dynamic reconfiguration. What happens is today we are working with some technology. Tomorrow the technology has been enhanced to a advanced technology. Then what this smart sensor has to do, it has to reconfigure by itself. That means these days our smart mobile phones are reconfiguring by themselves. It gives a message to us that I'll be becoming smart every day. That means what? Why it is becoming smart? It is reconfiguring by itself based on the upgradations of the underlying Android operating systems or any other operating systems which is running in the mobile phones. That is called dynamic reconfigurations. Then control is implemented through signal bus and host systems. Of course, controlling, that means we have to control the bus as well as the host system also. Next is conditional monitoring is also used for fault diagnosis, which in turn may involve additional sensors, DSP processors, and data analysis softwares. Conditional monitoring means what? As I said you already, the automated systems are always going to operate without the intervention of the human being. That is the basic agenda of smartness. So when it is involved with that, in that particular process, if some of the system becomes a fault system in the overall network, then you have to diagnose for the fault involved in the system. Imagine that there is a drainage underground the road. Now there is some problem. There could be a problem in near future in the drainage system. So that means that problem has to be really diagnosed beforehand and care has to be taken beforehand. If suddenly some blockage comes into the manhole, right, or in the underground drainage, then where the fault has taken place, that has to be diagnosed very effectively so that we can straight away go to the problem and rectify the problem immediately. Similar to that is going to be the digital system environment. In the digital network, we never expect that all the systems will be healthy throughout the life of the communications, throughout the life of the processing. So definitely human being or a machine, they have to get repaired. Okay, some problem will arise, something is going to happen and you have to rectify that. So that is what called fault diagnosis. First of all, you have to diagnose where the fault is, what the fault is, and what are the methods required to rectify that particular fault. All these are really required. And this has to be done automatically. Therefore, conditional monitoring has to be done continuously in the network for the sensors. So that means that sensors are going to involve the additional sensing operations. It has to compulsory, it has to perform some digital signal processing applications. It has to really implement some software programs to understand about the diagnosis and to provide the solutions to the problems what are happened in the fault diagnosis. The next, finally, you have to communicate your signal to the external world using the communication link. So there should be a communication link provided through the serial bus from the sensors to the outside world. So these are all the properties that can be exhibited by the sensors. In fact, sensor is also an embedded system. So as our topic of discussion of embedded system is sensor, we are speaking in terms of sensors. Okay. Now, the block diagram, what are the block diagrams normally going to involve? Block diagram is normally going to involve with the components such as what now? You're going to have a primary sensor, and then you're going to have the interfacing hardware, and then you're going to have a processor. You're going to have a communication unit. HDMI cable is connected to this, or a communication protocol is normally used. You're going to have a processor. You'll be having a memory units. You're going to have a conversion units. So all these are interconnected now. So this becomes like a block diagram for us. So these things, whatever concepts we just now discussed, all of them are simply coming over here in the block diagram. That's it. That means a smart sensor is a combination of all these things. So all these things put together is called as a smart sensor. If you want to remove the smartness, you have to simply catch hold only on this sensors block. That is called your primary sensor. Okay. So after primary sensor, you may have many other transducers to convert your given information into different forms of data, so that we can really process the given data by different means on different conditions. So that I can just simply give it to the various buffers, this A1, A2, A3, A4 onwards buffer devices. So these buffers are given to the flip-flops, like set reset kind of flip-flops are normally used. Okay, so using these flip-flops, we're normally going to process these signals, and then these signals are simply transmitted using a multiplexer. So after multiplexer, what happens? What the multiplexer will do? Multiplexer converts many to one, and this is applied. These analog signals are applied to the A to D converter, so that these digital data which we get from the ADC is going to get processed by the computer-based processor system. Now, to process such application, it needs some program to be implemented. That program is normally stored in the memory units. Okay, and sometimes we may need to write some programs based on the applications. We may need to reconfigure the program. So to store the programs, we need to have a memory. So therefore, definitely memory unit is going to be there. So after processing, the processor is going to give the results. Then it has to be reconverted from digital to analog by using a digital to analog converters, right? So if at all the system has to give the signal to the user called as a human being, then it has to convert the digital signal into analog signals. And if at all we want to transmit the signal somewhere using internet, then you have to connect this to a communication port. So for this, we may use a HDMI cables or twisted pair cables, right? So any kind of cables we can use to have that kind of a communication here. So all these things put together is simply called as a block diagram of a sensor circuit. Now, in the architecture of the block diagram, what are all the elements that we have got now? Let us simply observe here. We'll be having a primary sensing element, and you're going to have definitely an amplifier called as buffers will be used. Inside buffer amplifiers only, we normally going to have a sample and hold circuits. And we have used multiplexers, converters, A to D, D to A converters, offset, temperature compensations, memory, serial processor, serial communication unit, and a microprocessor or embedded controller. Processor means processor can be a microprocessor, it may be a microcontroller. It all based on the application once again. So these are all the things which we have just now discussed. Now, advantages of sensor, just now we spoke to some of the advantages while discussing itself. So to reduce the workload of the central processing system, we make intentionally the sensor as a smart sensor. That is the greatest advantage of making the sensor as a smart sensor. So the smart sensor takes over takes over the conditioning and control of the conditioning and control of the sensor signal, reducing the load on the central processing control system, allowing faster system operation of the centralized control system. To reduce the load, we use this definitely. Then direct digital control provides high accuracy, not achieved with analog control systems and central processing applications. Now here, using sensors, we normally going to have a direct digital control operations. What does it mean? That means the digital controlling operations are done local to the sensor itself. Instead of transmitting it to the D2A converter, which is connected separate to the sensor unit and all those things, directly we are doing this digital control processings, which is normally going to increase the accuracy, which is not achievable with analog control systems and central processing devices, digital central processing devices used in the smart sensors. Now, only even though the cost of smart sensor is higher, but the cost is something like affordable if you keep main cost of maintenance in future. In terms of ease of programming, in terms of reconfiguration of systems in the long run, the cost is normally going to be pretty much low. That means whenever you're going to buy any digital system nowadays, you should try to buy an advanced system. What is the meaning of advanced system? An advanced system is normally a system which is going to support the future technologies also. That means it is going to be like a future ready product. Advanced system is something like a future ready product. So in that perspective, the cost of the system that you are normally going to have in the market is going to be less. So that is an advantage in terms of upgradations. Okay, so therefore smart sensors are best suitable for upgrading programs, reconfigurable things, all those things we can do. So keeping that in view, you can just buy the product now itself. That means it's normally going to give you a reliability. Over a long period of time, you can simply use the same product. If at all you have to buy a new product, what happens? Old products rate will come down drastically. Nobody will buy that old product. New product, you have to pay the price as per that future's time period. So all that is problems there. So therefore, in that perspective, this cost is even though cost is high, we put this in advantage part. Okay. Then individual controllers can monitor and control more than one process variable. Obviously, just now we have seen so many transducers. See here, we have used many transducers. Means what? Many signals are going to get processed by the processor simultaneously. So therefore, this is the advantage. Okay. So individual controllers. Now here in the block diagram, what I have given is processor. Processor is going to have a controller. So that individual control is simply monitoring and controlling more than one process variable coming from different transducers. That is an advantage. So disadvantages part is going to be what now? In a smart sensor, if a wire in a smart sensor is totally damaged, then the entire system becomes unusable system. It becomes very difficult to troubleshoot the problem in the case of the smart sensors, because all of them are integrated circuits, integrated chips. So therefore, what is problematic here is that if some repair comes over there, if some wire is short circuited, you have to throw out the entire smart sensor device. That is what one of the problem. That is the problem of bus wire failure can be alleviated by the use of a redundant backup bus. So the only solution that we can have is, since we cannot repair that anyway, you have to keep the backup bus system. If the main system is damaged, you can get your work done by the backup system. That is what one of the alternate adjustment given to the sensors. Okay. So in case of upgrading to the smart sensors, what is the problem here? Compatibility or integrations from old device to the new physical devices. If at all you wanted to connect, then the integrability problems are going to be very much problematic issues. So therefore, these two are the primary disadvantages. One is compatibility in case of upgrading the smart sensor in terms of the hardware units. That is what one problem, and bus failures in the smart sensor systems. Okay, so that means I can just simply draw in some more sense a monolithic sensor interface diagram. What do you mean by monolithic? When all the subsystems are sitting on the same PCB, sitting on the same chip, it is nothing but a monolithic chip. Okay, that means whatever is there, this entire thing is sitting in the single chip. That means your primary transducers which you're using and microprocessors that you're using, amplifiers that you're going to use, converters, A to D converters, your bus units, and programmable read-only memories, RAM memories, address decoders, digital registers, frequency to digital converters. So all these things, clock signal generators, right? All these things are used inside the chip itself, smart sensor chip itself. So thereby we can call it as a monolithic interface circuit. Just like our nowadays we're getting a Flatron TVs. Flatron TV is nothing but a monolithic technology. That means all the necessary important components of the TV are coming on the same motherboard, same chip. That is what the thing. So we'll end up our session by discussing about this generalized, very much generalized block diagram of a smart sensor. So more or less put together of discussing all those things. We'll try to go with this basic issues in the block diagram. So what are issues we have found in the block diagram? We got a primary sensor, one thing. Then next you're going to have interface module to interface the output of sensor to the processor, interfacing module. Inside the interfacing module, you're going to have a signal conditioning units and drivers and analog gain amplifiers. We're going to have, this is connected to processor, and the processor is connected to display units, memory units, communication units, and then other offset adjustments and temperature compensation units. So all these elements are going to be bidirectional from the processor, right? Except the input signal which is coming from the interface module. So inside processor, what are you going to have? You're going to have multiple sub-processors or co-processors, such as analog DSP process, math co-processor, okay, signal conditioning processor, many processors I can use inside the signal processor. So this is the overall block diagram of the smart sensor. If it is going to be a primary sensor, pure sensor, only I just draw this diagram. That's it. My job is over. But smart sensor, yes, this is a smart sensor. Okay. Thank you very much for today's session. In next session, we go with the advantages. We go with the applications of smart sensors. Okay, with that, we can finish this chapter, smart sensors, because sensors is easiest chapter. It is very general way you can just able to think and write in the examination, right? So only thing is you should write the answers more technically to get the marks in the end examination. Thank you very much for today's session.